That was great.
We'll turn the theme music off. Okay.
Where we got? We're good. We're good. Got to cancel. I think you accidentally pushed. Now we're good.
It's there.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. All right. Have a seat and see if it'll work.
Yeah. All right. All right.
And we are here on Van Allen's Attic. Another Epoch episode.
And I never heard action, so
action.
But I'm okay. Now I'm ready to go.
Sit still. Still.
This is actually the second show I've done today.
And a moment later, they were all moving again. You remember Edith
Bunker? Yes.
Oh, Archie. They used to do that, and somebody used to yell, "Still."
Stifle yourself.
I think that was I think it was in a play. Somebody was talking about taking pictures, and they'd go still, and then they would get. And a moment later. So anyway, Kevin.
Oh, meathead. How are we gonna do this?
Is the best way to get anybody's attention is to go like Johnny Carson, who was imitating Jackie Gleason, going
Reggie Van Gleason.
Yeah, Reggie.
No. Oh boy, are you fat? He used to say that to the woman on the show. and then Carson would do and he'd wear that funny wig and the mustache, and he was great. Yeah. Carson, yeah.
And then later, Jackie Gleason turned into Buford T. Justice. Boy, I'm gonna burn your ass.
When I was a kid,
hey, Sheriff.
Gleason was my favorite as a kid.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
He was. The Groucho, and then maybe Gleason.
Well, Gleason was my first one because I was overweight and I identified with him. I said, "This guy can make it." And I also did Crazy Guggenheim.
Oh yeah,
and go, "Hey, Jim, how you used to do it?" and
Crazy. How about a song?
Yeah. No, that's Joe the bartender. He had a song too.
Yeah.
You ever figure out the words to that song?
No.
Away the river was sold down the river was born in there.
That's actually that is a song, but I don't
really?
like that. But I know
only you would have. This
but I don't know the song. It's like a very like a barbershop quartet song from the turn of the 20th century.
Well, yeah. Gleason was kind of his own music director, and he was a gifted composer.
Yeah, those wonderful albums when I was a kid.
Yeah, and he did
that syrupy music. Yeah.
Well, he did his own theme music. The Fat Man, wah 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 wah. He wrote that, and he did the March of the Soldiers.
That's right.
And that got me into wanting to compose. I didn't know he did it, but he probably researched those old Irish barroom ballads and.
I remember the song. He
had a house like a flying saucer.
Oh, that house was built by him in Long Island or somewhere in New York, outside of New York City, in an effort to keep him in New York. But he couldn't wait to move bring the show to Miami Beach because he had
Miami Beach.
Yeah, because he also liked being away from the suits in New York.
Yeah, but somebody built the house for him. I thought he wanted it there.
No, he wanted it when they built it. But
he probably had two residences.
Yeah. And, you go, I was in Miami. No, I was in Miami and New York. And there are statues to him in both places at the the in New York at the
club. Yeah.
No, it was. Where all the buses come in New York? What's it called?
Grand Central Station. That's
that's
trains. That's trains.
No, but that place, I'll remember it in a moment. But that place, they actually have a statue to Gleason as Cramden, Ralph Cramden. But then when you go to the Jackie Gleason a theater in Miami Beach, there's a statue of him, and it's all abstract.
I hope the damn mob.
And I hope they don't tear it down.
You know,
they're next.
Those damn mobs the other day actually tore down an abolitionist statue. That's right. They don't even know what they're doing.
They may tear down. Tear down Gleason's statue because he encouraged sending your wife to the moon.
Yeah,
he promoted.
He's putting down fat people.
Wife. No, actually, he was very pro fat people.
I know. He made you feel good. But he supposedly, and I guess it's in that movie. Remember the guy from Everybody Loves Raymond?
Yes.
What was his name?
I know. He
played Gleason. He did a great job.
Brad Garrett.
But I have yet to see it. I want to see that thing. I'm going to try to find it. I actually did a
good movie.
I actually did a project with him in mind, an animated feature that was going to get made and didn't get made.
Brad Garrett or Gleason?
No, Brad Garrett.
Yeah.
I had him as a big bear.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Santa Claus movie that I wrote, and this guy in New Jersey, and so we were going to produce it, but the money thing kind of got...
I saw Brad Garrett when he came to Newport News at the...
He's a funny guy.
Yeah, and his stand-up. It was him and Rita Rudman.
I love Raymond, yes.
Yeah, he's so good. But he's almost 7 foot tall, that guy. And when he played Gleason...
I knew he had to play it in a hole.
Yeah, they had to build up everything. Because Gleason himself was only about 5'10". But the way the movie turns out, he's pretty good as the young Gleason.
But do they have him... All right, there's a great story with urban legend that he went to... That Nixon and him got together. Yeah. And Nixon took him to a warehouse somewhere in Florida and showed him aliens on ice.
Oh, really?
You never heard that?
I think I've heard something.
And that when Gleason saw it, because he's fascinated with all this stuff, but when he saw it, he had a real humming moment. I mean, he never forgot it. He was shocked. And Gleason is quoted. I've seen it in writing. It just had an effect on him. I don't know which had more effect, the aliens or Nixon. But, we have the proof. We have the aliens. And he's going, hamina. What a scene to be in.
Pal, I'm not sure. Yeah. I can go with all this.
This will make a great episode of American Scene Magazine.
Yes. And then you had...
Get the cameras.
I remember we did a show years ago, and you did... Yes. You actually played like this occult medium, and you could talk people from the past, ghosts, and you would actually imitate the people that you.
Did I do that?
Yeah.
I've been.
We do like when someone says, I think Jimmy Stewart or I think Cary Grant or something.
Well, I've been in those situations. My marriage was full of that because I was into metaphysics and psychic stuff before that, but then when I married my wife, I just was dumped into it pell-mell 10 times over 10 because her grandmother, who was like my mother-in-law, she was this wild, crazy, gifted, but kind of wild, crazy medium.
Oh, she was a medium? I mean,
no, she was actually an extra large. No. No, she wasn't that.
Medium is the message.
She wasn't that big. Yes, the medium. Yeah, Marshall. You think you know Marshall McLuhan?
Wait.
That's a scene from Annie Hall.
Hey, wait a minute. You want Annie Hall?
Yeah. Gotta be a nebbish now.
Now, let me tell you. I have Marshall McLuhan right here, and he's going to tell you that he know nothing about what you're talking about. Now, tell him what you said.
That's right. I never said that at all.
Don't you think real life was just like that?
I love that scene.
You know that scene was actually originally supposed to be, but he couldn't make it. Was Louise Buñuel? the Spanish
Oh, Louis Buñuel.
Yeah.
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 The discreet charm of the bourgeoisie, which is one of his...
That was about the time that movie was out. He was probably working on that movie.
He and Dali, I think, did a movie together.
They did 2 movies together. One was called An Andalusian Dog, or Un Chien Andalou, which is really weird. It's about 20. Yeah, that's the first one. Yeah. The second one, called L'Âge d'Or, the Golden Age, when they showed it in Paris, it was in like 1930. They actually rioted and tore the theater apart, and you didn't see the light of day until like 1980. And you can see it on YouTube right now, just like this show.
He actually did a little film of the Park of the Monsters in Italy.
Who did that?
Dali. It's just a real kind of a home movie, but he was fascinated with the Park of the Monsters in Italy, which is a fantastic garden with monsters and strange, surreal things carved out of rock by this duke back in the 1600s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dali is famous for working with Buñuel, I just mentioned. Then it was Alfred Hitchcock, and then they tried to get something with
Disney.
With Disney.
Well,
and
Disney and him had kind of a love affair. I mean, they really liked each other, but they couldn't quite see how to make the projects come off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't very commercial. I mean, Disney... Dali was working there at the Disney studio on the payroll for several months, and did a bunch of interesting paintings for what became the movie Destino.
Isn't that great?
And then it's pretty good. But he had a story man working with him, and he told the story that he kept coming up with more ideas and more ideas and more ideas, and he ended up throwing baseball into the movie, which some of it survived, but he went off on all these different tangents, and finally somebody called Walt's attention to it. He said, "Come, you better see what's going down in the Salvador Dali unit." And he went down there, and it was more stories of the same story going off in all these directions. And Walt said, $78,000 down the drain. Pay him off. But they stayed good friends, and he visited him in his castle in Spain. And it was just Dali was a fine artist and not geared towards the filmmaking world, which you have to control your creativity and stay on budget and that kind of thing.
Do you know he only?
But they did do a nice film.
Do you know that Dali only designed one record album cover, and it was a Jackie Gleason orchestra album, and on the back of it, there's a picture of Gleason and him shaking hands. But and you might see a Dali painting on lots of other shows, but they were from other Dali paintings. Not something he did specifically.
He also
did
these. He put out these tiles. He was into mass production, and he put out these tiles. Yeah. With very interesting designs on them, and I've got some right over here.
All right.
I'd have to pull it out of the drawer. My aunt was a big fan of Cuba and Spanish things, and she used to teach in Cuba. But one time when she was down there in the Caribbean, she found these tiles and bought them and gave them to my mother for a gift. It was like a patio table, and like one of those 60s style wire tables, you know, kind of 60s angular, and the top was made out of tiles that sat on the wire framework. And then years later, Mom had them in the kitchen and coffee pots sitting on them and all this. And I had been, of course, into Dali, and I'd researched him in a big book. And I saw these tiles he had done, and I went, wait a minute. I came home and I said, Mom, you can't set coffee on these tiles anymore.
Get the Maxwell House off of that.
Yeah. And there they were. And so I've got almost a complete set. I'm missing one.
Now, almost.
I don't know if I can lay my hands on it or not. It'd take a lot of time.
Every animator, as yourself or artist, there's lots of artists they love and artworks. What Dali?
Well,
Dali. Else do you like?
I mean, animation is lends itself to surreality. Yeah, very much. Bob Clampett picked up on. He did some very Dali, Porky and Wacky Land.
Oh yeah.
And he's out there. Oh, I'm looking for the dodo. And then this giant Warner Brothers shield comes.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and the bird hops on the shield and goes. And there's all these crazy, fantastic.
Warner Bros. My favorite
Characters.
studio as a kid because they made all the gangster movies, they made all the pirate movies, and then they did all the best cartoons. I said they're the triple threat.
They were the funniest cartoons.
Yeah.
You know, Disney still tops overall. I love Disney and Warner's had a huge influence on me growing up.
Yeah.
And like 4 years old, there was Sorcerer's Apprentice in black and white, and I was fascinated with it in black and white.
You mean the Fantasia?
Yeah, they would show pieces of it on the Walt Disney
Oh,
show.
the Walt Disney
show.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the most incredible show because he had all this library of stuff to throw into the show. And I was just mesmerized by the wizard going up those stairs and Mickey at the bottom looking up the stairs, and that things like that led me.
Fantasia was supposed to be like a yearly or every 2 years, and it wound up. They didn't make another Fantasia
No, he was very
from 1940 to the year 2000. The sequel was made 60 years later.
He was very disappointed.
Yeah.
Disney really wanted to do more of that. Actually, he wanted to do more serious films. And he saw To Kill a Mockingbird and said, God, I wish I could do movies like that, but they won't let me. Because he's a kid's market. It's kids
To
market.
Kill a Mockingbird?
But he was a great admirer of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Gentlemen, do your duty.
Do your duty. Give Gregory Peck the Oscar.
He was good. He was good.
Anyway,
I ran into Gregory Peck once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I saw the top of his head once.
Up
at
Charlottesville.
Yeah,
that's where I saw him.
Yeah,
he was at the Charlottesville Film Festival, the Virginia Film Festival, and I actually was there to see someone else, John Sayles. I was with a friend of mine, and
John Sayles good.
We took a long. It was a long line for the bathroom at the University Theater in Charlottesville, and he was supposed to come out. Gregory Peck maybe an hour or 2 hours later after what I saw, and then he just while I was waiting, someone just ran through the hallway. Walked through a hallway with a few people and goes, "Is it over here? Over here?" And I'm not kidding you. His voice sounded like a lightning bolt. Everyone turned around, and we just saw the side profile of the old Gregory Peck walking into the loft.
Stentorian tones. Well, Jimmy Stewart was there too.
Yeah, Jimmy Stewart was there too.
I saw him go by out in the hall, and he was tall. God, he was tall.
He was about 6'3" or something. Yeah.
Well, he was up there, but anyway, he was walking fast. And I had a chance to talk to Robert Altman, which I wish.
Oh, wow.
But I was too shy. Sometimes I'm not shy. And like Robert Wise, I had no compunction about taking him to task about what happened to Orson Welles' cut of Magnificent Amberson's You Bastard. No. No,
Jacques.
And poor Robert Wise was said well, but the thing about Orson was he was a genius. But no, I wasn't that bad. But that was the first time I met Robert Wise, who I greatly.
You met him before?
That was the first time. Well, I think it was the only time I met Robert. I met other people, but Robert Wise, I have great respect for, a fantastic filmmaker. But at that time, I was young, and I was of the cult of Orson Welles. I had all his books.
Oh, yeah.
When you're a young film student. And I love them both.
Yeah.
But Robert Wise was a company man. He worked within the system and still did great movies. Orson couldn't work within the system and ended up being what I call the patron saint of independent filmmakers.
Got it.
He really showed independent filmmakers how to do it if you possibly can. But I mean, he would raise money on the side and go pour it into his films. He would sell no wine before it's time. Okay, I got to go make a movie. Give me my paycheck.
I'm
and he never had a lot of money, but he was always struggling.
Spent it all on. A lot of people had that problem. And when they make up money, they pour it back into their work.
He said later
you never have enough.
He said later he'd wished he'd concentrated on being a movie star more, because he could have made bigger bucks. But overall, I mean, when you go back and just pour over his work, his movies, his interviews, and everything all about him, it's a rich legacy that we can enjoy online. and really, and just listening to him talk and the things he has to say, he'll go by in a minute and say this pearl of wisdom after pearl of wisdom, and then a big joke and a laugh, ha ha ha, with his cigar. I mean, he's a great guy.
I saw on there's actually,
Robert Wise was equally great, but in a different way.
There's actually TV like anthology shows that he directed, Orson Welles.
Yeah.
There's that he's not in, but he directed them, and also there's one.
Some he actually played in. And there's a series of 3 films that he did.
And then there's a travelogue in Spain. I remember that.
He picked up all kinds of work,
and about bullfighting.
And he was always narrating and appearing.
Yeah.
Of course, he appeared in Moby Dick. Delivered a sermon. Did the first take. Got it right. John Huston was saying, "Now, are you sure? Are you ready to do a take, Orson?" And Orson was, worried. Do you want a little more time to study the part? And Orson said, "Well, no. Let's start the camera and we'll wing it. See how it comes out." So they did a take. Perfect. Letter perfect.
John Huston.
John
Huston, right? He's so villainous in Chinatown. Now, let me tell you about what I heard about Orson was that he narrated. If you saw any like documentaries in the 70s and 80s, and then even the 60s, he narrated all this stuff. And from what I gather, he was offered money, not a whole lot of money, but money that he needed just to narrate them. And he said most of them he never even saw. He was just given the script, went in the studio. Recorded all, sometimes in just a day, and then maybe years later the documentary would be finished and he'd already narrated.
Also they would pay him for they had this big part for him to do in the recording studio, and they estimated about 3 days worth of work.
Yeah, that's right.
And they were going to pay him $1,400 or $3,000 or whatever it was, and the producer complained. He came in and wiped the thing out in about an hour.
Yes.
And it was perfect. And then he said, "Okay, I'm going down to the Caribbean." And he was saying, and he spent all that money.
Yeah.
And I still had 2 days left on the budget, and I could have saved that money. But
that happened.
Orson needed that money.
That actually happened. The History of the World Part 1, directed by Mel Brooks.
I think Mel Brooks told it. He's the one that told the story.
Yeah, and let me tell you something else. All this stuff about Orson Welles is just fascinating about narrating and so he did leave his mark. That I heard a story about him making a film called The Other Side of the Wind, which just came out on Netflix about.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Don't spoil it for me.
It's not, but it's a really weird avant-garde. I can't even describe it to you.
I want to see it, but I don't want to pay Netflix. I want to wait for somebody to post it.
You could get. I tell you what you could do. You could get the free week or the free.
I thought it was gonna. I thought
see everything.
I thought it was gonna come to the bird, and I would have happily paid.
I waited my whole life to see that movie. And I understand Rich Little is still alive. Rich Little said that he would travel with the star John Huston. He traveled with Orson Welles, and they would go places. And what was weird was this was before the Dean Martin roast and everything. Nobody knew. Most of the people in diners and stuff did not know who John Huston or Orson Welles was, but they all knew who Rich Little was from all the talk shows and everything. Rich Little's part is now just a cameo. He was supposed to play the major part of that Peter Bogdanovich plays.
My voice is. I have trouble with postnasal drip.
Oh man!
But
you gotta take care of yourself in this pandemic.
No, it's just genetic. It's my family.
Oh, okay.
My mother and her sister. It's the old Anderson raspy. Yeah, well, and then in the morning I talk a lot clearer. So I need to get all my studio.
Let's do our show in the morning.
Yeah, maybe so. If I can get up, if I can make myself get up. But anyway,
I can do the show anytime.
What was I trying to talk about? Anyway,
talking about Orson Welles, John Huston.
Yeah.
And then John Huston.
He was driving the car. Apparently John. I don't know if he was drinking a bit or if he wasn't that good a driver, but Orson said, "Okay, we want you to, in this scene, you're driving kind of wildly, and I'm be in the back." He had the camera in the car, and they got the all shots, and but you're kind of out of it, and you're driving down this road, and don't worry about it, Orson. I've got it covered. So they took off. And John almost wrecked the whole thing. Was going over the medium and all the place and everything like that. Busted, but killed everybody. And then they came to a stop and said, "Well, was that good enough, Orson?" And he said, "That'll be fine, John. That'll be fine."
Yeah.
But there are a lot of stories written about that. Anyway, I'm glad we have been segueing.
One last thing: did you know that Gleason and Orson Welles were good friends? And every once in a while, he would appear on the Miami Beach show with Gleason, and he would do a magic trick or something, and he would act. Gleason would have to pay him in cash, and then he'd act the hightail it maybe to Mexico or something, because he was on the run in those days in the '60s or so from the taxman
IRS.
Yeah,
but he also appeared. I saw him more on the Dean Martin show.
Oh yeah,
he did some great things. That's where I first became interested in Orson, when I saw him appear doing some Shakespeare or something. I was riveted by the guy.
Oh yeah.
And then Dad started talking about the War of the Worlds.
Yes.
Because
that was something. Yeah.
Dad was a big fan of the Mercury Theater.
Yeah.
When he was back in the 40s, and he would tell them, he would recite The Hitchhiker to me, the original Hitchhiker, which I think was John Carradine.
Yes.
But
tell me about your book there.
Did
you write that book?
Been trying to segue into this. I was as a structural function of the show. I wanted to set up a little actors workshop for Kevin, not Heaven. Hello, Heaven, and me. And we're going to start with this. It's a great little, cute little book. Came out back in the 70s. Film scenes for actors. I can never get this.
Hold it still. There you go. Looks perfect.
And it has some neat scenes in here.
I think how it works is a second per word. So if it's like...
it depends on how
commandments.
It depends on how you perform it. I hate those rules of thumb.
Yeah.
They like to...
We break the rules.
They like to repeat the rules of thumb of how movies are made.
Oh, by the way, I at work, they said, "Where's your rule book?" And I said, "Hit right over the employee rule book." I said, it's still in mint condition in the original cellophane.
This is true.
Yes.
True words were never spoken through false,
falser
teeth.
Now I got to do my Woody Allen imitation now. Put my glasses on. Or my Atticus Finch, whatever. What are we going to do?
Well, I'm trying to find... Well, we got the producers here. But I wanted to do...
yes.
On the Waterfront.
On the Waterfront.
All
and
right.
Who do I play?
All right. We can.
I play Eva Marie Saint.
Yes. Yes, that's who you play. Oh, Terry. Okay, wait a minute. No, we're gonna
Rebecca.
We're gonna change that.
Oh,
no,
good. Oh no.
I'm the casting director here.
Wow, this is a nice hat.
Where'd my
I think I'm going to wear this all the time.
My other hat go? Oh, this
is that.
Yeah. Here. Okay. You get to play Rod Steiger's part.
Rod Steiger? You think I could play Rod Steiger?
Megan Steiger.
Yeah, Rod Steiger.
Isn't that Jack Palance you're doing?
No.
Sounds like Jack Palance.
No, Jack Palance sounds like this. What are you talking about?
All right.
Believe it or not. But Rod Steiger...
Yeah, but you got to do push-ups with one hand. While you do that...
Believe it or not.
Yeah.
That's my Rod Steiger. That's my... now you got it all confused.
Charlie, it was you, Charlie.
Jack Palance was fine, but Rod Steiger was a great actor. Yeah. Rod Steiger yelling at people. And the pawnbroker, so good. So I'm going to play...
All About Eve. Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah. Rod Steiger was...
Oh, Mr.
Near the end of his life, he was in quite a few things. I mean, TV movies and stuff. That was very good. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's the African Queen. I can't find the...
We're both going to fight over who gets to play Bogart.
Well, we get to do a Bogart.
Now, wait a minute.
No, Charlie, it was you, Charlie. I could have won a 10-way ticket to Palookaville. Instead, I got to be a bum, which is what I am. Let's face it. Hey, you my brother. You got to be the other guy. Here, read.
Oh, I don't know.
Here, read.
Do you have lines for me? I'm sorry, I didn't know we were right into the thing.
Yeah, this is
Okay, where do I start?
This is Kate Hepburn in
Wait, wait a minute. Wait, you want what'd you say?
no, just pick anything and read it. We're gonna do a surreal actors.
Okay, but
this is a surreal actors workshop.
Wow, you got a lot of good scenes.
Yeah, we do. Here, look. Now we go.
Show the audience. Carnal knowledge. Oh man, that would be good.
Don't spend
Save
too much. No,
the
don't
time.
spend any time.
Okay, we'll do the African Queen.
Yeah.
Okay. But a lot of these are speeches, so
Yeah,
we should just do
Well, just pretend.
document. Okay.
Uh,
I'll play Rose, and
All
you
right.
play Allnut. You can play Bogart, and I'll play Katharine Hepburn. But I won't play Katharine Hepburn. I'll play Rod Steiger. We'll say Rod Steiger.
I Red Stenger.
Okay.
Listen, Charlie, I tried to get you some good money.
Okay.
I tried to lay down a few bets for you. You know, I tried to do what I could do. You know, you got to roll with the punches.
Nature,
Yeah.
nature, Mr. Allnut, is what we're put on this world to rise above.
Yeah. Yeah, you skinny old dame. What are you talking about? I can't see. And my glasses-
Hold it.
So you think? Oh, now one thing I never do. That's unless there's no way out. Oh, you promised you'd be down there by the river, Mr. All Night. Why, miss? Why, miss? Why not? What's it all about? I'm sorry.
So you think it was your nasty drunkenness I mind?
Yeah, well, guys gotta have a
You
few.
lied to me. You
No.
promised we'd go down the river.
Well, I say a lot of things when I'm in my cups. Yeah. We got that old river's, it's a pretty steep thing, You gotta watch out. Yeah.
Is that what it's all about?
Yes. I don't know. But I want to go down the Nairobi with you before my palsy gives out. I'm shaking enough. When we hit the rapids, I'll be going like.
You'll be steady at that point.
Okay.
All right, what's this?
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Well, I can do that.
Yeah.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis noble in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of trouble, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, to
Or
sleep,
chance.
to dream.
Or chance to dream.
Yes. That's the thousand
Aye.
natural shocks that flesh is hair.
Aye, there's the rub.
The new suit. Don't touch the material.
Yeah.
All right. This is fun. A workshop.
Hey, old Bob Cratchit, what the heck you want Christmas Day off? What are you gonna? You think Bob Cratchit should have Christmas Day off and rob me of another day's salary once a year?
Please, sir. I have my poor son, Tiny Tim. He hasn't had figgy pudding in years.
Sir. God bless you, sir. You're so nice. Let's bless the turkey. It looks like Mr. Scrooge. Look at the end of it. It looks just like it.
It does.
It's got a little nose.
That Pope's little nose there.
Yes. The possum's no, that's Scrooge's nose
Yes,
right
Scrooge.
there.
So- oh yes.
Oh.
Do you ever think at the end Scrooge is just a easy mark for those
Okay.
visions? Oh, you're reading the phone book now.
All right. You do W.C. Fields, and I'll do Jimmy Cagney.
All right.
We'll read it out of the phone book.
All right. Oh, my sons, modern moving with old-fashioned care. You know, James, it's so great. It's Oh, Mrs. Hemoglobin was over here the other day, and I was very excited. Not a fit night out for manor bees.
All right. Into Greater Richmond, 804-649-2000, see? Yeah, got the wrong hat, see? Gotta be a tough guy, see? Yeah, all right. All My Sons Moving and Emporium. Coke the Group, Mayflower Moving, and Dr. Stephen Grant. Dr. Stephen Grant, ID Art Media recognizes one of Richmond, Virginia's own local heroes. I'm into for Thurston Hall the Third. Gilligan, my boy. Gilligan,
All right, you guys.
have you ever been to Southern Gun World?
I've been to Southern Gun World. All right, you guys. I've been all over the place. Yeah, see? Nobody's going to bother me now. See? Yeah.
Jump back into life.
Good. There are no... Not a lot of people don't know this, but there's no white pages in the Tokyo phone book.
And they all go up and down.
I was watching the other day I was looking at the obituary column in the paper. How come everybody dies in alphabetical order? See?
Yeah. Oh, see. Inflamed all minds against me. These inflamed, so inflamed him that all my happy honors were changed into mourning. Then unjustly blamed. My soul in scorn. It's Dante's Inferno.
Hold it a minute. Let me get a look.
Yes,
let me get a look at that.
Yes.
If either of you return to the world, speak for me. So vindicate the scenery of men. So prostrate in the blows of envy. Jody. Christ.
Cyclone coming, Auntie M. I'll go get the stock. Quick, Dorothy! Auntie M screamed. Run for the cellar. But Dorothy ran to get Toto. Her little dog, he had jumped out of her arms and was hiding under the bed. And then the theme music started a little bit late. Dun 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 dun, and didn't match the scene. And then big storm. Oh. And then the guy goes by milking a cow, and then they ended up down and land kaplump. And ding, 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 ding. Wrong theme music again. And then the lady in the bubble comes out, and then she says, "Who are the little people? The Munchkins, they're the little people that live in this land, and I am the good witch of the north. And where's the good witch of the east? Oh, your house kaplopped on her. Then I am king of the forest."
Well, doggies, I'm your Tin Man over here, and I'm going to do a little dance for you.
I don't know if this is working very well.
But this is what if Buddy Ebsen would have played the Tin Man. This is exactly how he would have played it.
Yes, now, granted, someday I got to have a long talk with that Tin Man.
Too bad,
Uncle Jed.
Too bad the politicians today. They could be at the Oz. They could be at Oz. One could get a brain. One could get a heart. The other could get courage.
A head all full of stuffing. A fate I don't deserve. Da-da-da-da-da-da. With the thoughts that you'd be thinking you could be another Lincoln if you only had the knife.
If I only had
a bunny rabbit. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so what else is there to talk about on the plate? What's on the plate?
Gosh, we haven't even come to Gone with the Wind yet. Well, Scarlett?
Scarlett, I'll go build it there.
Scarlett. Well, Scarlett, start making clothes out of the curtains.
I'll go back to Tyra. Tyra is where I always love to go, and I'll tear the curtains down. Tyra. Yeah.
And
the second half of that movie always depressed me because she got all rich, and she treated Clark Gable like ditch water.
That's the way.
Yeah, and
he was like her fourth husband or something.
I don't know. But then if he just said just the right thing, she would have fallen into his arms.
Always remember that the greatest love stories of all time, they don't get together at the end. Romeo and Juliet, Wuthering Heights.
Well,
Gone with the
no,
Wind.
and Wuthering Heights, they do get together, but they're dead.
Well, same with Romeo and Juliet.
But you see them walking off over the hill in the ghostly,
Yeah.
in their ghostly selves.
In real life, there's no proper happy endings in real life.
Kathy, oh Kathy, I've gone to the new world and made myself a fortune so I could come back and treat you as an equal and kick David Niven in the arse. Yes, Kathy. Oh, Heathcliff, if it's too late. I'm already married. Oh, just ask Aunt Pittypat here. That's not her name.
It was a far, far better thing
I
I do than I've ever done before.
Yes.
It was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
It was a tale of many cities that we got on that GPS. And on the GPS, we could go to this city and that city.
Yeah.
And it was very boring. I'd rather be in a coach wearing my butt off and going. Then we have adventure.
Well, that's the
Yes.
craziest thing I ever heard.
I ain't the same.
So, remind me next time not to talk to you.
I won't.
Let me tell you about imitating Groucho. Groucho is one of the easiest people to imitate. I'll tell you why. Because when you imitate Groucho, it doesn't even matter that you sound like him. All you have to do is pretend to look like him, and people start laughing right out the bat.
Yeah, it's like a. It's like
You wear the fake nose and the mustache, and people start laughing even before you say them.
It's like
before you say a single word.
ancient tribal mask that's ingrained in our subconscious from primordial times. And I did that in a film. My first film I ever made was Born to Bag, shot at Ucrop supermarkets, and I played the manager as Groucho Marx. And I put tape, and I was and my big line was I answered the phone and say, hello, do we have rutabagas? No, but I got 2 Buicks and an Edsel. Same to you, lady. And the rabbit will do his own stunts.
I'm fighting for your honor, which is more than she ever did.
Your eyes, they shine like the pants of a blue suede suit. That's no reflection on you, it's on the pants.
Did you ever meet Groucho or anything? Or you ever met any old-time actors or anything?
Well, I met
comedians.
Ray Bradbury.
Ray Bradbury, of course.
Who met W.C. Fields.
Oh, so he
said he was knighted by W.C. Fields. He went up to W.C. Fields to get his autograph.
Yeah.
He said, please, Mr. Fields, give me your autograph. And he says, okay, here you go, you little bastard. And he said, I felt like I'd been knighted.
I remember.
That's a true story. True story.
Not only is this a true story, but you actually got to be friends with Ray Bradbury near the end.
Yeah, and we were doing we're doing a project
near his end. We're still going strong.
He asked me to animate one of his short stories.
Yeah,
and I said yes, Mr. Bradbury. And I had to think about where to get money, and I just dived into the project, and I did some of the finest animation in my life. It looks like Fantasia, and then I started getting a cataract, and he died. So I've got a big pile of animation for that. And I'd like to someday. It's a short film, so it's hard to make them pay. So if you tack it onto in front of a
follow the money.
No, if you tack it onto in front of a feature film, it can be a package.
Yeah.
And I've got this Nathaniel Hawthorne story based on the Great Carbuncle, which I wrote a part for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's and Ray loved that. And I said, what if we do this? If we put the short story on at the beginning of the Great Carbuncle, he loved the idea. Oh, that's wonderful. So it's always a question of money, but I have a whole lot that I've done, finished to it, and I'll show some of those drawings. It's a fantastic story about an incredible monster and some characters that see it coming out of the mist.
Now, Ray was the second most famous person from Waukegan, Illinois.
Yeah.
And
after Jack and Benny.
Oh, Rochester.
Well, really.
I love Jack.
Now cut that out.
Now cut that out. Oh, I got to tell you something about that. But anyway, Jack Benny, it's such a pleasure to be here. I understand because he's from Waukegan, Illinois, Ray, when he first came to Hollywood, he became friends with George Burns on strictly that fact that, oh, you're from where Jack Benny is from, who was a good friend of George Burns.
Who was?
Jack Benny, but because Ray Bradbury was from his hometown, that was his in to meet George Burns. I don't know about him, and I never heard of any sort of relationship with him and Jack Benny, but they're from the same hometown. You think everyone in a hometown would know each other?
But George Burns was from New York.
Yeah, but they were all in Hollywood at that point. So yeah. And anyway,
but I went to his house in it was, what's that famous golf course where all the comedians used to hang
Hillcrest?
Yeah. He lived real close to that, and I went to his house there.
Hillcrest,
and Bradbury used to go to that table too for a while.
Hillcrest it's still around. It was a lot of Jewish people in Hollywood, and they couldn't get into the country club, so they decided to create their own country club called Hillcrest, and that's why you always hear about it. People going to it. But then what's crazy was
Hollywood ain't like what it used to be.
But what happened was we
can make films anywhere these days, and we should.
But what happened was they would
not that I don't like Hollywood.
They kept they used to have to be Jewish to go there, and they said, we're just as bad as the Wasps if we're keeping people out, and they said, yeah, you're right. Let's have everybody come in. So now everyone who wanted to go.
That's where Groucho said I wouldn't be a member of an organization that would have me as a member.
That's right. That's right. He went to Hillcrest, though. And they all went to Hillcrest eventually. Now, also, let me tell you about Ray Bradbury. Ray Bradbury, I was trying to tell somebody who Ray Bradbury was, and said, he wrote this. He wrote The Illustrated Man. No. He wrote Some Things Wicked This Way It Comes. He wrote 451. Well, no. And guess what? Then I said, don't you know anything about Ray Bradbury? And said, you probably only know him from that Sunsweet Prunes commercial from the 1960s. Goes, yes, that's how I know him. Stan Freberg commercial that he did for, he was a friend of Stan Freberg, and he did a commercial. And you met Stan Freberg, too?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, big, tall guy.
Really tall. I didn't expect him to be tall. And he just shook hands with me. And he wasn't very talkative. He had an afro. His hair was done in an afro.
Yeah.
And
he always had that.
And it was kind of one of those animation union get-togethers. So, hey, how are you doing? and he
must have been in awe of Stan Freberg.
Well, yeah, but I wanted to talk, but I was a little bit in awe of getting an end to the conversation. And turned out he was just as shy as I was. He was kind of like that,
He was a reluctant performer. But when you see him, he's...
a lot of people...
But then he's...
a lot of people come to life on stage or in front of the camera, but in regular life, they just kind of keep it themselves.
Yeah. So you met... Stan Freberg, he used to do all the voices in...
I saw Hugh Hefner getting his star on the Hollywood Boulevard.
Oh, Hugh? Yeah. Hef?
No, Hugh. Who? No, Captain Kangaroo. No.
My friend Nur. I used to call him Nur. He was... Yeah, everyone called him Hef. I called him Nur. I had to be different. Now, I never met Hugh Hefner. I
just saw a funny... he was a cool guy in many ways. Of course, the obvious ones, but he was into pop culture and saving things. And on the internet the other day, I ran across this early silent film starring John Barrymore as Sherlock Holmes, one of those old films. And at the beginning of it, it says, this film preserved with the help of Hugh Hefner.
There you go. Yeah.
So he threw some money at...
he gave a lot of money. I mean, I don't know. He gave a lot of money to women's issues and women's rights things. And even the women's rights people said, you're only doing this because you've exploited us up to now.
No.
He goes, there's what we do.
In sexual freedom, and he loved women in more than than one. But, that's what a man does.
Well, the best way to get rid of bad money is spend it on a good thing. Hugh Hefner also was, what was successful about Playboy was if he looked like,
the articles.
If he looked like Robert Redford or something, it'd be different. But he looked like the regular guy. He looked kind of goofy looking. And if he could do it, then anyone could do it.
Yeah, he kind of looked like a rock and roll sleazeball guy. Yeah. The guy that hung out by the jukebox with the slick back hair.
Well, that's the old.
Hey baby.
But that's kind of when you see him on the E channel.
If you had been a casting director in Hollywood and he showed up, that's the kind of part that it looked like a 50s kind of.
He was
at least back then.
The show, the magazine started.
A guy with a pipe.
The magazine started like in the late 40s, early 50s, out of Chicago. And
No, it's 50s.
Okay, the 50s became very popular because of Marilyn Monroe's nude centerfold in
He
there.
put that film...
And that's what made it, yeah.
He put together that magazine in his own house on
Yes.
his bed and his kitchen table.
He was a low-level writer for Esquire, or worker at Esquire, and he thought that he could improve on Esquire by making it just like that, and it worked out great.
But his Marilyn soul that got it to go off the shelves, and that was a good move. And my uncle was in a magazine with Marilyn a few pages over.
With Marilyn, or in a
few pages
article?
No, well, the next article over, because he worked for NASA, and they had him pictures of him fixing pieces to our first satellite, which was in answer to Sputnik, which was called the Vanguard Explorer satellite, which was about this big with antennas going off of it. And my Uncle Roland he was an electrical engineer on that, and it shows pictures of him with his bald head. He's real tall, thin guy. He looks like Mr. Wizard. He looked the part. And
Mr. Herbert.
And so, but then we saved that old magazine. I got it in there. And it's cool. You say, oh, there's Uncle Roland. You flip over. Oh, there's Marilyn Monroe. And then there's Kirk Douglas selling Pontiacs. It really was Kirk Douglas selling a Pontiac station wagon.
And he said,
Kirk Douglas, I believe in having dimples that I can put a pointer in it and help me steer my Pontiac caravan.
You know what about me? I was born with a belly button in my chin!
Chin, yes.
I have a birth defect here!
And I worked on a film with Stanley Kubrick.
That's right, a couple of them. And he also,
he could play sycophants, too. You ever see him in the
Kurt?
He could play a wide range of roles. But he used to play some really weird roles, like in the Loves of Martha Ivers.
Oh, that's
Strange Loves of Martha Ivers.
Kurt Douglas made a lot of good films.
Yeah.
That's a really good
And he plays sycophant. He and Barbara Stanwyck are the baddies in it.
Yeah.
They're the big names. But Van Heflin and Lisbeth Scott are the kind of down and outers who knew them when they were young, and they come back together. And now Kirk Douglas and Stanwyck own the whole town and these big factories, and they're really warped. They're warped. And she said, "Why, you always were trying to get me." And said, "Oh, shut up! You don't have any guts. You never will. You never will." I don't believe that's a fair statement. I'm going to push you in the fireplace. Yeah. And then meanwhile, over here is Van Heflin. Come on, Elizabeth, let's get out of here. And they go off to be happy. It's a good film noir.
Yeah.
The Strange Loves of Martha Ivers.
Yeah.
Very strange title. Very good movie.
Lonely Are the Brave is so good.
I've never caught.
Oh,
I've heard of
that. And also, but that's,
heard of that one.
Of course, Spartacus and Paths of Glory, Kubrick films.
I think that was Kubrick's first movie that he first got a chance to direct. I think.
And also
he was a big photographer for life.
Yeah,
I don't know how he peddled that into letting him direct a film.
A lot of Kubrick documentaries that explain all his he only made 13 films, and 2 of them had Kirk Douglas in them. Also, to have
what's the other one?
Well, Paths of Glory, and then Spartacus.
Oh yeah. No, Spartacus I think was the one he got to take over.
But he did direct it, and you want to know?
Yeah,
something?
But it was going to be Anthony Mann.
Mann, but at the same time, it's still a great Stanley Kubrick film. It has the biggest cast he's ever worked with of stars. Also, because he inherited that cast. A couple of Oscars, I think. Peter Ustinov won an Oscar.
I'm up on a crucifix.
Charles Lawton.
I don't care. I'm going to win the Academy Award.
Charles Lawton is in it.
Charles Lawton?
Yeah.
Yes, he always played some Nero type.
Well, that's who he played, I think, in Spartacus, yeah. It's a great movie, Spartacus. And,
Mr. Christian, you're a mutinous dog. Shut up, Captain. The whole thing about the Pitcairn Island and the mutiny on the Bounty it's real.
It's real.
And they ended up on that weird island that's really a big rock. Way down in the southern Pacific.
There was no way out for that crew, except because once they cast... And it was miraculous that the Captain Bligh found his way to in a lifeboat with his crew.
They could barely get on shore when they got there. There's hardly any beach at all.
Yeah.
And
well, he was
the descendants are still there.
Whenever I see a despot or a dictator running a country, I always think the first thing I think of is Captain Bligh. I think of like when Richard Nixon was going wild. Whenever foreign leaders go wild.
Actually, I'm a fan of Nixon now. I went through all that and I drew a lot of cartoons of him. But
you could lie with the best of them.
Well, it's like the Sixth Crises. he did a hell of a job. Him and Henry Kissinger. They pulled the whole. They were pulling the East out of the communist bloc. They were bringing them together.
Yeah.
And he passed a hell of a lot of environmental and civil rights legislation and stuff that had gotten started by Johnson and everything. He passed a whole. You look at his record, and the thing of it is that it was the '60s, and it was a hell of a time. You didn't know who was the right and who was the left and who were communist and who was not, and he got a bit paranoid. But they had those guys in there breaking tapes, breaking into the office, Zapruder's office, and all that. And then it kind of got out of hand. But he's a fascinating guy.
He is. He might be one of our greatest presidents. And
I consider
he's this brilliant guy.
I consider him next to Roosevelt, FDR, the finest president of the last half of the almost. Well, I mean, let's face it, of the second half of the 20th century. Let's face it. What other president has had an opera written about him? He has an opera.
By John Adams. Not by the composer John, not the president John Adams.
Nixon in China.
But Nixon, Nixon, he was a great man, great, brilliant mind, but a lousy personality that got in the way of paranoia.
Well, I thought it was quite fascinating. Yeah. It was great to a cartoonist. It was fascinating.
Also, but that when he died and
Dan Aykroyd,
Bob Dole, well, I always think of David Fry imitating him, and then I also think of Rich Little that did a pretty good imitation. But everyone does a Richard Nixon that's halfway decent. But you do a great Richard Nixon.
Yeah, with my voice, But let me stop doing these shows this time of the evening. I don't have any voice.
Well, okay. Can I have his time? I have about 20 more things to say.
BB Rebozo. Yes.
Richard Nixon, when he died...
I'm going to take Jackie Gleason down to see the aliens. I am. It's one of the perks of being president.
But, Bob Dole, who's still alive, gave the eulogy at Nixon's funeral and actually said Nixon will go down in history as our most liberal president. Because he passed things that liberals and got to do things liberal presidents that would aspire to do that he actually got done.
I got a biography here about him. It's called Nixon Reconsidered. You ought to reconsider it. Yeah.
No, I'm a big fan of presidents, a big fan of history, and I like all the presidents really. I always try to
now
see them.
Everybody loves Ronald Reagan, and I thought I like him too.
Right.
I like. Now, well, there you go again. Yeah, I like him better as an actor than I did as a president. Although he did some stuff, but he did. He kind of brought us out of the recession thing,
the malaise.
But he deregulated our financial system, which led to all the bad usages of Wall Street and the money in the banks, and the Bernie Madoffs that came later came from deregulating our financial system, which he did in order to stimulate the economy. But what he should have done, and I'm no mathematician,
rein it back in.
Well, he should have deregulated it with a stipulation this is only going to be for 10 years.
Okay.
And because all those regulations that were put together during the New Deal and Roosevelt, they were good regulations. They had never been done before. That was to cure us of the Depression and all the crazy
good luck with that.
Speculation.
To get
but he undid a lot of that, and finally things started to unravel into the 90s and into the 2000s.
Yes. So and well, of course.
Yes, but then
here you go again.
Then he went on the Carson show and won an Emmy. Did he ever
Wait a
go
minute.
on the Carson? He would have been
He
great.
was on the Carson show, I think, while he was governor. It wasn't a thing for guys running for president to go on these shows. But anyway, because of this pandemic, every once in a while I have to go out like this, And every time I go, I look like I'm going to rob a stagecoach. Is the joke I make? But every time
say you dirty rat. Oh.
But I now have a joke. You could all use
Lord,
this joke.
Mother of Mercy, is this the end of Rico?
Every time I wear this, I do an imitation. Want to hear my imitation?
Ooh.
It's a really good imitation. It goes, "Read my lips, no new taxes."
Yes. Is that Clint,
good luck reading my lips.
Is that Clint Eastwood or George W. George H.
The old
W.
man.
Yeah.
The old man. Now we only have a few more minutes, but before we go, I do want you to do your imitation. My favorite imitation you do is
I don't have a voice.
Terry Thomas.
Oh, Terry Thomas. And the man with a hyphen in his name and a hyphen in his teeth. Oh, blast it all. Here I am, and I was supposed to get a plum roll in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, playing the chitty, but instead I got those magnificent men in the flying machines was there. And I wanted to be up in the dirigible, flying and shooting with a blunderbuss, but then they said, we don't have the budget for blunderbusses or dirigibles, so they put me on top of the train, and my poor bi-wing airplane went kablooey, and I said, oh, blast. And that was my moment. That was going to be my big moment. But the smoke got in my eyes, and smoke gets in your eyes. And da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then that was it.
He made some movies like in the 70s and 80s, and he's only in them for like 5 minutes, and you're just so happy when you see him.
Yeah.
And in those days. Just for 5 minutes. Oh, look, it's Terry Thomas. Terry Thomas, of course, all of us love It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and he has a very good part in this. He wasn't one of the big stars that was in that movie.
Yeah,
he was the last-minute replacement for Peter Sellers.
He got to be bullied by Ethel Merman.
Yeah, they were all.
Boston, woman, would you please shut up?
Stan Freberg was in that movie.
He was?
Yeah.
He was in The Office.
Yeah, he's like an extra in it. But he actually did the commercials, the ads for it. And
Buster Keaton's in that. They don't give him a big part, but he tries to make the best of it. He's walking this way, he's walking that way.
Actually, there is in the deleted scenes, there's a bigger scene with.
I was wondering about that.
There's so much cut out of that because when it was something like more than 3 hours.
I wonder if
the
that's
original version of it, and then it got totally chopped up. So it was about 2.5 hours. You see it.
Who did that? Stanley Kramer.
Stanley Kramer, not Stanley Kubrick. I used to think it was Stanley Kubrick. I said that's a perfect Stanley Kubrick film with all that comedy. But it's Stanley Kramer. Stanley Kramer made a lot of serious movies like Judgment Nuremberg.
Mandrake.
He produced High Noon what's the one? Ship of Fools. A lot of great films, but he only made one comedy, and he made it the greatest comedy.
Have you ever seen a Ruski drink water, Mandrake? Yeah, no, Jack. I can't say as I have. And have you ever seen a Japanese drink Mandrake? No. The thing is, they make such bloody good cameras. No, Jack, I think you've got a bit off his knob there. I just want to get on the phone to Keenan Wynn. You say, yeah, buddy, are you trying to knock the Coca-Cola company?
Oh, actually, Terry Thomas and Peter Sellers were in a movie together. George Powell's Tom Thumb.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it was made in England. Yeah. Russ Tamblyn is in it. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
But a lot of special effects in it.
Animated stuff.
Yeah. Now, also, what else? So
I know a place where the music is fine and the lights are always low. I know a place where we can go. We ought to go.
Yes. So, all's well. We did another show, another wonderful show.
I don't know, but I gotta do something about my voice. I do have a better voice than this.
Yes,
but
I have music.
I don't like the heat.
It's not the heat, but it's the stupidity.
Yeah. Oh, right. All right. Well, we can end the live video.
Why don't you sing the end?
I don't have any voice.
Oh.
I could do Rod Stewart.
Rod Stewart. Yeah.
Oh, Maggie, I'm coming home. If I try, I'll find me a rock and roll band that needs a helping hand. Oh, Maggie, I couldn't have tried anymore. I'm not going to try anymore. Maggie, get the hell off the TV screen. Oh, I need another record contract. I don't know. Maggie.
You're great.
Oh.
You know, when I imitate, there's certain people you can imitate. Like if you have a cold or something, you could always do Lou Rawls, or you could do Dr. John, or you could do Bruce Springsteen, or
Burl Ives.
Or Burl Ives is a nice.
Yeah, it's kind of softly kick a tree, a foopa whoopa, softly kick a tree, foopa whoopa. John, you gotta have a ukulele. Some bear comb his hair in the middle of the air. Oh John, a foopa whoopa John. That's one of those
that's a good
weird.
song.
Yeah, I loved it.
I loved
that. He did.
Yeah.
But I got an old 78 of it. It's just really cool and nonsensical.
I tell you, there's and here's a little trick how you could imitate people. I could imitate Louis Prima. You know?
Oh yeah.
Hey man, it's really wild, man. I'm gonna talk like this, and
no, it was more like, oh, I'm the king of the jungles.
Oh, I'm the king
of the jungle swingers, the jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Oh, do I want to be like you?
Beautiful. And then
I want to walk like you, talk like you. I say it true that an ape like you can learn to be human. Take me home, Daddy.
I don't do a great singing Louis Prima, but I talk like this, and if you kind of you can do it in line, you got John Travolta. I mean, so you can do two people at the same time.
John Travolta.
John Travolta. I mean, what am I doing here? It's weird.
Oh, Mr. Carter, Mr. Carter.
Well,
Horseshack.
You know, the curse of Welcome Back, Kotter. You don't see, other than Travolta, you don't see anyone on that show ever again.
It was a funny show.
Good. It was a funny show. You know, Groucho almost appeared on that show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he was too. It was
like
a year
looked too much.
died.
It looked too much like Mr. Carter.
Yeah,
the mustache.
Oh yeah,
I could have been his father. He could have been his father.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. Yeah, but he showed up and they never filmed it. Oh. Yeah, he showed up because he was so weak. Yeah. Oh. But that Welcome Back, Kotter, loved it. I loved all the shows. We'll talk about some of this.
We shall post some of these edifices upon the YouTube.
Yes, let's do
Facebook thing.
So you're a wealth of great ideas. All right, I guess we could end the show. Welcome. You were enjoying Van Allen's Attic with my name's Kaye Lazar, and this is the wonderful Keith Van Allen. Come back next week, and we'll have even a better show.
Hit the button, please, Mr. Maestro.
All right, be very careful now. This is the hardest part.
It's funny. Some things you can do, and some things you can't do.
Okay.
Yeah, this routine needed more work, but anyway.